So we were talking about this just yesterday, that the length of time that has gone by since we've heard any news on John Schneider is a little puzzling.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you scratch your head a little bit. And for those of you who maybe didn't see the press conference with Ross Atkins after the Blue Jays season, he came out and he basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he more or less said it's going to be difficult to find somebody better than John Schneider for this job. However, we're going to do our due process. And then weeks went by. And it is a little weird because John Schneider, let's face it, this team knows what he is, right?
Yep, this is true.
He's been in this organization for years.
Yeah,
there is no question mark.
Came up with the kids,
as to
managed them through AA, AAA. Here we go.
Won a championship in 2018 in New Hampshire. He's been with this core all along. Again, we know John Schneider. Now, what does the due process mean when Ross Atkins says stuff like that? Did they have their eye on somebody? Were they kicking the can on Terry Francona and seeing if after that series was over, if the Guardians would allow them to talk to him? Who knows what was going down? There's all sorts of rumors and speculation surrounding John Schneider. Well, this morning, there was a tweet from Shane Seeney, okay? So, at Shug McSween.
As legit as it gets, as far as usernames go.
As it gets. Now, he tweeted out, "Heads up at Blue Jays fans. The Toronto Blue Jays will be announcing a 3-year contract extension for manager John Schneider on Friday," which is tomorrow. So I dug a little deeper. Obviously, you need to be pretty darn careful on Twitter as to who's saying what. I've been had before.
It's called getting belfed, I believe.
Getting belfed. I remember sending out a tweet late at night, drunk. I was on the East Coast, and I sent it out. I was like, "Oh, Freddie Freeman's going to the Dodgers," right? Because I'd seen it on Twitter. Next day, I'd been had, and then the next day, he went to the Dodgers. Nonetheless, you do need to be careful on Twitter.
Yes.
So I pulled up this guy's qualifications, and he does cover the Maple Leafs. He covers the Penguins via the Hockey Writers. He's affiliated with at NHL Trade Rumors. So some credibility there. Now, we are well aware of the tight lips on this front office. They do not like leaks. They do not like stuff like this getting out before they have the ability to present them themselves. We watched Hazel May break the Michael Brantley trade, or signing, I should say, back in 2020. And that turned out to be not the case at all, and it just smelled like they had tried to sniff out a rat, right? Release some information, see where it comes out.
To clarify, we're not suggesting Hazel May is a leaker, or that they were trying to get her or anything like that.
No, she's doing her job. I didn't mean reporters. I meant
we're saying someone, an administration assistant, travel secretary,
who
somebody
told
Hazel, and that was the leaker they were probably trying to catch.
So how credible is this John Schneider being signed to a 3-year deal? We're going to need to wait until tomorrow to actually find out. It is interesting that it's coming out right now. 3 years is also interesting. Not that term actually does mean anything with a manager. Obviously, you just need to eat the money and fire them. And I'm sure John Schneider's not making millions upon millions of dollars, right? I'm sure he's a first-time manager. It's probably a fairly standard first-time manager contract. We did just watch Rob Thompson, interim manager for the Philadelphia Phillies, lose the interim tag and be signed by the Phillies to a 2-year contract. So it does make me go 3 years. That's interesting, especially considering you've watched this front office go 2 years with Charlie Montoyo. Mm-hmm. Term means nothing, though. And this
No,
could be a very credible...
Charlie was let go with a year and a half left on his contract because managers don't get paid $20 million a year. If you've got to eat $2 million, which, by the way, doesn't count against your luxury tax threshold or anything like that. It is what it is. I don't know where I'm going with that. Scott, bail me out here, would ya?
Yeah, you had me waiting on bated breath, though. I was like, oh
this is going to be a good one.
Max got something good to say here.
Pausing for suspense. Let's go with this. As far as the decision, let's just play on the assumption that it's true. And by the way, let us know in the comments if this is true, if there is a 3-year extension for John Schneider announced tomorrow. How do you feel about it? Are you happy with it? Would you have liked them to go a different direction? Do you think he's the guy that can get it done? Do you think there's playoff wins in this 3-year extension under John Schneider? For me, it feels.
How do you feel about it, Adam? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not nothing against John Schneider, but the whole we're gonna see what else is out there, and waiting for a week and a half kind of just felt like, when you come home from work and you say to your wife, let's go out for dinner, and she's like, sure, where should we go? And then you spend an hour looking up menus online at all these different places, and then you just end up going to McDonald's anyways.
God, I love your comparisons.
I'm with the best, all right? John Schneider
I love your comparisons.
The McDonald's, the Big Mac of this decision. We just kicked the tires on Terry Francona. Yeah, it didn't work out. It's I don't know, Scott. It's a not sexy extension, but I think it's probably the right move.
The devil you know, buddy. There is something to be said about it.
And if I can optimistically read the tea leaves here, if there is a reshaping of this roster in the offseason, okay? Not a rebuild, not a whatever. But if there are, let's just say, 3
tweaks.
3 major tweaks to this team, okay? Find them wherever you want, right? Position players, bullpen, whatever. Continuity is important, especially when there is a bunch of new kids coming to school. So,
yeah, when you get an infusion of new blood, you want somebody who's been there, done that, to kind of get everyone under the same wavelength, right?
Yeah. So
unite the clubhouse.
So maybe that's a reason to be optimistic for a big, busy offseason, is that if they are going with John Schneider, maybe that means, the shakeup is going to happen on the roster, not in the support staff. So I'm happy with that.
I am too, and I know not everyone is on the same page. I know friend of the show, Craig Ballard, was very vocal about not wanting John Schneider back. I know we had good friend Jim Riley on of Ballcap Sport just yesterday, and he was more or less along the lines of, well, what else would you rather?
Mm-hmm.
Not so much, and this is my feeling on John Schneider too. It's not so much that I'm a massive John Schneider fan. I don't dislike him. I think he did an admirable job over the last 4 months of managing this team. Were there some question marks and decisions? Yeah, there's going to always be that when it comes to a manager. There's question marks with the managers that win the World Series. So you're never going to have perfection out of that position. And that position is meant to be questioned.
Yeah.
I'm fine with John Schneider. He's going to need to prove if he's the guy or not, though.
Yeah, I would say if this is true, I don't think he's hot seat in 2023.
And I
whether
think
whether he gets a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, I think he's going to get, whether they struggle out of the gate or not, he's going to get time.
They got to give him a
sort
year.
This
exactly.
out,
like
a full season.
His job is 100% safe next year, and he's for sure going to start the 2024 season if this 3-year contract is legit.
Well, and if they do sign him to an extension and then fire him this season, that reflects poorly on Ross Atkins.
And this is one thing for everyone to keep in mind too, is that Ross Atkins is at strike 1, right?
Montoya was
you don't
his
wanna
guy.
get his guy. This was the dude he went to bat for. He was like, this is my choice. Bring in your guys, Charlie, he said. This whole staff that we're seeing right now, Guillermo Martinez, right? This whole, other than Pete Walker, was Charlie's staff.
Mhm.
John Schneider was a part of it. So
I wonder if we'll
there
see
maybe
any other changes
I
there,
was
like
just
you
gonna
said,
bring
the
that up.
hitting coaches and everybody else, right? If John Schneider's going to get a chance here to retool, and bring in
put his own
guys,
mark on it,
so to speak. So everybody's got their guys. You
And-
don't get this far by not having your team, right? So,
and maybe this was part of the delay. Maybe that the fans were in the dark and John Schneider wasn't, which is most likely the scenario. You would like to think, anyways, that this front office has been up front with John right from the beginning and they're not leaving him hanging because it does have this weird vibe to it. But maybe that was part of it, right? Is that they were discussing his extension, they were negotiating what he wanted to see happen on his end, and maybe that did have to do with some internal changes.
could be as simple as like Ross goes to John and says, "Hey, if we extend you, what are you going to do differently?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what are your expectations and working stuff out in that
Where
regard,
do you
right?
see yourself in 5 years, John?
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
All right, so we'll leave it at that. Feel free to drop your thoughts on John Schneider in the comments. This is not for sure. This is just Twitter clickbait, but we'll see tomorrow if there's any validity to these rumors.
We've converted that Twitter clickbait into YouTube clickbait. Look at us. We're real YouTubers, Scott. Amazing.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate the walk-off community, all of you who have spent the time to view this video. If you're still with us, please hit subscribe. If you haven't already, hit like, and we'd love to hear from you in the comments as to your thoughts on a John Schneider contract extension. Cheers, everybody. Take care.